What's up, YouTube fans, college football recruiting fans, college football fans? What's up to all of you guys? Let's talk about what's hot. 2022 number one quarterback prospect in the country, Quinn Ewers, made some waves yesterday when he decommitted from Texas. So, when you've got a big school like Texas and you've got a five-star number one rated recruit at that coming together, and there's a decommitment involved, then obviously it becomes a very, very big story, which it was yesterday. So let's talk a little bit about Quinn Ewers, and this video right here is going to talk more about why he is the number one prospect or a highly regarded prospect for the class of 2022. But before we jump into that, let's just talk a little bit about how his recruitment is gone and the path that it took, because that is a big part of the story here. Obviously, many of you are college football recruiting fans, and some of you come from some of the fan bases that are involved in the recruitment of this highly sought after prospect. So we would need to talk about that. And if we're just going over the timeline, with Texas now, the decommitment happening for them and most likely them falling out of the whole race for Quinn Ewers. It's rare when a guy decommits and then comes back to the school. Not saying it's impossible, but it actually very rarely happens. So you would have to think along the lines of Ewers probably being done with Texas. I'm sure they're going to continue to recruit him hard. There is going to be some pressure for Ewers being, at Texas, living in the state of Texas, playing in the state of Texas, and at, one of the prestigious schools in the state of Texas to try and get back on and be a Longhorn at the end of the day. But Texas right now is out of the picture, so everyone's wondering who's next. The big talk out there is that it is Ohio State, and I would have to believe that. There are a number of reasons for that. One of the biggest ones, though, is that Ohio State was really Ewers' first big-time offer. It was not his first offer. That goes to the North Texas Green Wave. They offered him back in his middle school days, so you had to know the kid was going to be good. But in terms of a big, solid Power 5 offer, Ohio State was it back in June of 2018 before he went into his sophomore season, the one that really, really put him on the map. And kudos to the Buckeyes for seeing it early and pulling the trigger. Now, I see this happen a lot in the game of recruiting. It's easy for an out-of-state team to come in to a state like Texas or Florida or California and offer a guy that they think might be their guy. They don't have to really pick up the pieces if they decide later on that they don't want to actually have that guy in the class, or they just stop recruiting him and then he ends up having to decommit or something like that. When you're in the state like Texas is, or like a Texas A&M or Texas Tech or TCU or any of those big schools in the state of Texas, and you're recruiting a kid that's in the state of Texas, it's a little tougher to just say you're going to jump in on a kid that you're not entirely sure about and then maybe have to turn around later and start de-recruiting the kid to the point where he moves on from you, because you still have to go into those schools year after year to get prospects. And when you're talking about South Lake Carroll, you're definitely going to that school to try and pick up kids year after year, so you have to be a little cautious. Knowing this, Ohio State jumps in, offers the kid early, and it's paying dividends because the kid did go out in his sophomore year after that Ohio State offer and put up some really, really gaudy numbers, which we'll talk about here in a minute. So kudos to Ohio State for that, his first big-time offer. And lo and behold, now that the kid is decommitted from Texas, that's the one that this is who everyone is saying Quinn Ewers is cheating on with. So everyone thinks he's going to Ohio State, and there's usually where there's smoke, there's fire. And that would be one of the big reasons, because this loyalty thing happens to be big for kids. They tend to know who was the first school to offer them, and they tend to also know where that first big offer came from. Sometimes people get it a little misconstrued. Well, that first offer is the one he's going to be beholden to. When a kid becomes a big-time prospect, they remember who the first big-time offer was. And nothing against North Texas, but I'm not saying anything out of pocket here to say North Texas is not a big-time school in the whole grand scheme of college football. Ohio State most definitely is. They're at the top of the recruiting classes every year. They're typically in the college football playoff race, and that was his first big-time offer. And here they are now that the ball has been fumbled, so to speak, by Texas. Here is Ohio State looking like they're in prime position to pick things up. We can all speculate about what is going on with Texas and why he decided to decommit. My personal belief is that, Texas is not coming out firing hot like everyone expected them to be. There's talk of Tom Herman being on the hot seat. That's definitely going to make a quarterback nervous, because no quarterback really wants to go through a regime change while they're at the school, because there's all of the thought of, well, will the new coach run a system that I can thrive in? Ewers is considered a pro-style pocket passer, so to speak. If someone comes in there wanting to have a quarterback that's super mobile, that might not work for him. So head coach changes really make a quarterback nervous, and things did not come out firing on all cylinders for Texas. So who knows what's going to happen there. As we all know, head coaching jobs in big college football change a lot, and it does impact recruiting. So all the hot seat talk could be a problem for the kid, and so maybe he needed to back off. I would imagine, again, with him being in the state of Texas and being at a prestigious school like South Lake Carroll, he had a tremendous amount of pressure to commit to Texas in the first place. So who knows if he really wanted to do that. Again, pure speculation by me. I'm not in his household. I couldn't tell you that for sure, but we've seen that. I'm just going off of experience in many recruiting cases where you'll see stuff like that. So feeling a little uneasy about the way Texas has started off their 2020 season and what could possibly happen in the future, most likely led to the kid decommitting. And it was that Notes app again on Twitter. When you get those and you're the school that's recruiting the kid he's committed to, it's going to make you nervous each and every time. So I think that's what led to it. And again, Ohio State is right here to pounce on the fumble. And listen, you don't need me to tell you how great Ohio State is doing in the world of recruiting. If anyone thought there was going to be a drop-off when Urban Meyer hung it up and, turned things over to Ryan Day, boy, were you mistaken. Ryan Day has taken the baton and really brought it to full speed over there at Ohio State on many levels, recruiting being one of them. So this is the case that we're dealing with. Now, Ewers obviously picked up a lot of steam after the Ohio State offer and going through things. He's going to be impressive in a camp setting. So after getting that Ohio State offer, went around, made his visits to the various camps and got out and did the things that you do on the recruiting circuit, picked up some offers, and eventually was, offered by Ohio State in September, going into that sophomore season where he really blew up. And, Ohio State was now Texas was now on board, and, the whole recruiting thing with Texas went along. So let's talk about that 2019 sophomore season for Ewers. You want to talk about some gaudy numbers? He definitely did that. Over 4,000 yards passing, 45 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and he added 9 rushing touchdowns to boot. So when you do something like that, definitely the floodgates are going to open for you recruiting-wise, and pretty much anyone who was anyone in the country came through to offer Ewers, and he had offers from coast to coast. So he goes through the offseason circuit, obviously does very well there after the great sophomore season. Obviously, things were curtailed a bit in terms of recruiting activities because of COVID-19, but nevertheless, it wasn't slowing down for him. Offers everywhere. So he goes through all this, and he has all these schools that he can juggle. He eventually commits to Texas in August of this year, and then we're now at this situation 3 months later where he has now decommitted, and now the race is going to be on to capture his attention. Typically, you get afraid when you get an offer from a kid early, their sophomore year for most positions, but with quarterback, those things tend to last, but not in this particular case. Again, the reason for the big stir on Wednesday when he decided to decommit from a school like Texas. So once again, the chase is on for the kid with Ohio State, looking to be the front runner. If they continue to go out and win games and be impressive and can find themselves in the mix at the end of this year, obviously that's going to probably create a stronger bond and stronghold on the potential securing of the number one quarterback in the class of 2022. But let's talk about why he is the number one quarterback prospect for the class of 2022. And we will take a look at some video right here. I'm going to break a few things down for you. I'm going to say this about Ewers. He's not spectacular, let's say, in any one thing. Doesn't have a cannon, good arm, not a spectacular scrambler, and so he's not really spectacular in these things that fans like to look for. We like to be wowed by the physical talents of a prospect or a player and things of that nature. That's what you're looking for in this kid. You're not really going to get that, but what he does, and you will see that in the film that I'm about to break down for you, he does everything well. For a college quarterback, a lot of these college coaches want a kind of a finished product. You know, they want a guy that they've got to do less coaching with. There's less time, and guys are playing earlier, and there's more go. So you've got a guy here that is a bit of a finished product when you compare him to other high school football players. And so there's a lot of things that he can do. He can execute all the different facets of playing quarterback really, really well. And that's what makes him a very attractive prospect. But enough of me clamoring on and on. Let's take a look at some video, and I'll break down for you why he is the number one prospect for the class of 2022. All right, let's get to unpacking things here with our 2022 number one quarterback prospect in the country in terms of pro-style quarterbacks, Quinn Ewers. First of all, we got hair, all right? You know, hair's a big deal nowadays for quarterbacks. Let's run that back. If we're analyzing things, definitely got the hairstyle because, like I said, here's a thing for quarterback these days. But let's get serious here and talk about why he is the number one rated prospect at his position for the class of 2022. And as I've said, you know, he's not spectacular, you would say, but he does everything well. And for a coach, a quarterback coach, that kind of stuff brings comfort. Look at the touch on this pass here, making sure to drop it in the corner. Knows he's got the DB with his back turned and works with that space there. Gives his guy a chance to make a play on the ball. I can't tell you how many high school quarterbacks would throw this ball out the back of the end zone or, you know, try to be too perfect and hit the back pylon and, again, end up throwing the ball out of bounds, and that's not what you want in this particular case. You've got a DB with his back turned, give your guy a chance to make the play, and he does. Here we are executing on a rollout. Again, not spectacular, but well executed, okay? We get a nice play fake. As you can see, the defense moving on this. Rolls out, takes what he's given. So many guys would try and force this ball downfield or try to hit a crossing route and end up throwing an interception. You get good execution on that. Then there's the arm strength. That's the kind of stuff you want to see. Can you drop back and lay it out there? So this is the stuff that excites fans and everyone else, and definitely quarterback coaches, because sometimes you just got to hang one up there, drops it in there nicely, shows the arm strength on that one. Then we're back to touch, and this is in the face of a rush right here, okay? He's got a guy coming right to his face, cool as a cucumber. He sees that guy coming. Cool as a cucumber. Delivers with touch, drops it right in there, lets his guy make a play, and you get a touchdown out of it. All right, on this one, you know, this is the game nowadays. Quarterbacks have got to be mobile, and he shows his mobility here. Again, he's a pro style. He is categorized as a pro style quarterback, but it doesn't matter anymore. Even pro style quarterbacks got to take off with the ball nowadays. People really relish athleticism from their quarterbacks, and as you can see, he's got enough of that to hurt a defense that's not really playing for it. All right, back to the throwing though. We get nice accuracy on an out route to his back end side here. Again, you know, to the common Joe, this doesn't look like much, but opening and making that throw and allowing that guy to catch the ball on the run is, not something that's easily done. Here we are, execution on the screen, okay? To the untrained eye, not very spectacular, but well executed. Listen, if you've watched enough high school games, you've seen quarterbacks screw up, a play like this one. I'm going to just run it back. He's well schooled, brings a rush in, drops it off, didn't sail it over the running back's head, not a particularly tall guy there too as well. Then we get the play fake here. All right, facing a rush, shows enough mobility in the pocket to evade the rush and keep his eyes downfield. You're going to see that on this, and hit a guy on the run. Hey, great catch there. We got to give 14 some credit. Makes a nice catch. Nice one-hand stab there. 14's got to get some love. He's showing up all over the film. But again, in the face of a rush, enough mobility, keeps his eyes up downfield, and is able to hit his guy there. So what you're seeing is a lot of things executed well. Of course, these are the kind of throws you want to see. He's got a guy breaking clear on a skinny post, puts it right on him, allows him to catch it in stride and run. Again, I'm telling you guys, this stuff doesn't look all that spectacular. It's not a huge cannon throw. It's not an amazing scramble. It's not any of that, but it's well executed. Hits his guy on the run. The late Bill Walsh would be proud, because that's an important thing. Receiver doesn't have to pull up for it and get tackled by the defender. Hits him in stride and on the run. Again, this is some more of his athleticism. Again, if you're not playing for him because he's deemed a pro-style quarterback, he can definitely hurt you. I mean, here's a run for a good 10, 12 yards. Those guys pick up first downs. It's what Joe Burrow did with LSU last year. You weren't really playing for him being a runner. He was not considered that, and ended up, hurting guys a lot. This is another easy, I mean, look how easy he makes this look, all right? Nice, easy throws. There's no labor to it. Yeah, I know the guy's wide open. Hits him in stride, though. There's no funny business. Guy doesn't have to overreach for it in the middle, over the middle. He doesn't have to pull up for the ball. Hits him right in stride, throws the ball to his face, and that's how you get this big play like this one. So let me run this back just so you can understand this. If he throws this ball short, that defender might have a chance to pull up on him and maybe get at his legs, or this guy is not able to hit it in full stride, and he might not be able to get into this open space. But he hits him right in stride. He doesn't have to break his gait, and he's able to run. Vicious stiff arm it again. That was number 14. And then we're back to the touch throw. You like the placement on this. The DB's covered. The DB's got this guy covered. Hits him on the back shoulder. Great placement. And recognizes, too, that the DB has his back turned. All right? And here's another thing that you wouldn't, as an untrained eye, find very spectacular. But this is a roll away from his throwing side. And a lot of quarterbacks struggle with this. A lot of young quarterbacks struggle with this. Makes it look easy. Rolls out, away from his throwing side. Drops it right into a guy right by the sidelines. Nice pinpoint throw. Then we'll end it with this one. Dumps it right in here. All right, this is another touch throw. He shows the ability to know when to make the strong arm throw, zip one in there, and then also the touch throw. Another thing that some guys struggle with. Some guys want to throw, they want to have the cannon out at all times. This guy knows when to put it out there, use his strength, and then other times just make the touch throw. So there you have it. As you can see, again, a polished product. That's the biggest thing that I see in looking at Quinn Ewers on tape. Executes everything well. You can tell he's listen, if you're in the Texas area, and go see this kid's quarterback coach. Go find out who coached him, because his execution on basically every facet of the game is really, really on point. He's not really lacking in anything. Again, not spectacular in any one particular area, but he's definitely on point in basically every area. He's got enough arm strength, good ball placement, he's got touch on his throws, he can move around in the pocket, he can handle the RPOs, he can do the zone reads, he can improvise, he can stand in there on a rush. I can go on and on and on. Virtually every facet of his play, of playing quarterback, he can execute, and that's certainly going to be attractive to college coaches. So now you understand why the floodgates are open. It also helps that he's 6'3", 195 pounds, and that he put up super gaudy numbers. And he does go to a rather prestigious school in the state of Texas, who has a long history of producing quarterbacks and prospects. All those things help. So a lot of good things come together for this kid. Now we're going to find out who indeed ends up with him in their recruiting class for the class of 2022. And again, as I've said several times, looks like Ohio State is out in front. But, as we'll see, recruiting is that game that's always fluid. And again, we're talking class of 2022. There's a whole nother season that this kid needs to play on the high school gridiron. So we'll see. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If this is your first time here and you haven't done this already, go ahead, like the video, share the video, and subscribe. If you've been coming here for a while and you haven't subscribed yet, what the hell's going on? You got to get that done, okay? We're putting out stuff on recruiting here, both for fans as well as for prospects. I've got a ton in here for prospects on making highlight videos and tips on getting recruited. Plus, if you're a defensive back, we'll drop some defensive back stuff here too. It's like a YouTube flea market here for you. But it's the game of football. We all love it. So if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that button and the bell so that you're aware of my next award-winning video, which could come at any time. You never know when that's going to happen. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, Gridiron Studs. Be seen.